Literally just last night I was talking to my buddy and he goes and says, yeah, I can't be with myself for too long. I can't sit with myself for too long. I gotta, put in a podcast, listen to music, listen to a speech or watch a TV show or talk to somebody. He's like, yeah, I just can't sit with myself for too long. And I ask, why can't you do that? Or what happens when you do that? Why do you not feel like you can sit with yourself too long? Oh, I don't know, man. It's just like, I feel like I start to get really sad and I get a lot of anxiety when I sit for myself too long. And to me, I'm like, I literally just sit there and I'm like, dude, I think that's the key. I think that is your answer, my guy. Sitting with yourself. So we were talking about anxiety. That's how we got this. We were talking about anxiety, and he was talking to me how he says he has anxiety. And I started by prefacing that I don't believe someone can say that. I have anxiety, right? Anxiety is a normal and often very healthy feeling, right? It's natural. It's innate within us. But when somebody starts to feel it very often, it's disproportionate, right? At the disproportionate levels of anxiety, it's very regular, right? That to me is not anxiety. Yes, it is. Listen, but stepping back one more, to me, it's improper coping mechanisms, and it is a misunderstanding of what your body is trying to tell you, right? You think evolutionarily. Evolutionary biologists and psychologists would argue that we've developed anxiety, right? Why would we develop anxiety? What would be our body's benefit to developing anxiety? Because feeling anxious sucks. But what would be the benefit of doing so for your body, right? Your body always wants you to be the best. Your body's always trying to better you. Why would your body add an anxiety to you in order to better you? In my belief, and evolutionary psychologists would argue and debate as well, to push you in the right direction. To move you in the right direction. That's what your dopamine system is for. The dopamine system is Mother Nature's universal reward system to push animals on the right path, right? You can easily trick that. You can easily trick that system. The brain is a very funny thing. As much as we do know about it, it's like the ocean, man. As much as we do know about the ocean, what do we know? 10%, but the other 90% we don't know. And then when it comes to the mind, bro, lot of conjecture and theory with the mind, but. I believe, that's why I make this whole thing. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I study community health. I struggle with mental health my whole life. That's why I'm passionate about mental health. That's why I started my first podcast ever, right, about mental health. And my whole thing, even my fitness channel on YouTube, it's all about you. It's about you becoming your helper, you becoming your own coach, you becoming your own therapist, counselor, you becoming your own expert. You becoming your own sleep expert, diet expert, fitness expert, mental health expert. That's what I'm trying to do. I believe most of the space is filled with anecdotes and placebos. However, so is a lot of my stuff. Why? Because I believe that there's a lot of merit to anecdotes and the placebo. I think the placebo, that is the most understudied effect in all of neurology, psychology, and XYZ. The placebo effect. It is such a real thing, and I believe that one should, try and use the placebo effect to their advantage, as much as they can. And, getting back to that, becoming your own expert, that's what I'm all about. And so I want to use his anecdotes. I won't share his name, but I want to use his anecdotes that we talked about last night that can really help other people. And my anecdotes from myself that helped me out, because I used to be a huge anxiety-ridden person too. I was always anxious. That is where anxiety stems from. It stems from the feeling of being anxious. And when you are anxious very often, that's when you start to say you have anxiety. You have an anxiety disorder, which is a real thing. I'm not trying to take away from that. But the reason why it made me upset, but when he said it to me, I'm like, bro, you do not have anxiety. I know you, buddy. You're my best friend. You're an anxious person. Yes, because what I believe is because you don't listen to yourself. And so let's continue this conversation on how it went with me and him and what we got away from him. So what I basically started was I said that. I want to preface by saying I don't believe in anxiety. This is what I believe anxiety is. It's a feeling of anxiousness, right? There are people who have legitimate chemical imbalances, and this video is not for you, right? You need someone to really get help with you, right? You need a clinical psychiatrist. You need a physician, and that is not me. I am an anecdote warrior. I am, walking in other people's shoes, listening to other people's stuff, theories and conjecture. But I believe there's a place for them when you tie them in. You're not just talking out of your ass. You can easily just talk out of your ass filled with conjecture, theory, and anecdotes. But if you bring in studies, which I like to do, you bring in other medical, like, hey, this is how I feel, this is what I concluded, and evidence and studies would actually back me up and show maybe there's some merit to this anecdote or this placebo or this theory. That's what separates. So we were talking about it, and I'm like, hey man, you ever heard of your conscience? Right? You ever heard that old thing? That is the brain in your, that's the subconscious that wants to talk. That's how I label it. Your conscience, right? Is, oh, my conscience was pushing me in the right direction. Exactly. That's it. It's that feeling. It's that feeling that's bigger than your present moment, right? That yes, you right now you want to eat that shitty food, but your conscience is telling you, come on, man. We know what happens when we eat that shitty food. We know how we feel in the morning. If you were sitting down eating that food, watching TV, but you started to feel anxiety, because anxiety is a chemical reaction, right? It's a spike in adrenaline. It's a spike in cortisol. It's a drop in serotonin. It's a drop in dopamine. It's just a chemical reaction, so you start to feel shitty, but you don't know why you feel shitty. That's what I was saying at the beginning. That's what I believe is anxiety, this feeling of not knowing why you're feeling this way. It's just simply not knowing. What is going on? What is going on? Why am I overwhelmed, right? You don't know that you're anxious. Like you do know when you're mad. And a better one, sometimes you don't know when you're sad. I think we always know when we're mad because, maybe not, but there's some times, right, where sadness or madness comes on because there's chemical reactions, right? Madness and sadness and anxiety are all chemical reactions. Like I said, an increase in cortisol, which is a stress hormone, an increase in adrenaline, which is a fight or flight hormone, a decrease in serotonin, which is the pleasure hormone, and a decrease in dopamine, which is the reward system hormone. It's rewards. So the happiness hormone. So it's a chemical equation. Sometimes you don't even know why you're feeling that way. Sometimes you just wake up and you feel shitty. You just feel shitty. I don't think the answer is going to be there on that day. Going back to becoming your own expert, I believe you'd have to keep working that. For me, it was, why do I feel so shitty every morning? Why do I feel so shitty every morning, right? For me, it took a long time for me to realize what I think is why I feel so bad in the morning is because I'm a guy who can be disciplined all day. I can be disciplined all day long. But for some reason, I cannot go to bed without having fun. I cannot just save my fun to the end of the week. I need to have fun every day. It's just something weird. So I have a great day, a great 14 hours of being awake. And those last 2 hours, I need to have fun. Quotes I say, I need to have fun as I think I do. But I don't. And what do? I just sit there, watch TV, eat a bunch of shitty food, maybe have a drink or something or whatever, smoke, whatever. I just try and chill and have fun. Reward myself for the day. Nothing bad about that. But I overcompensate and tend to reward myself because I went so hard for 14 hours. I tend to overcompensate myself, right? And then I'd, be very happy. I'd be super elated and euphoric, and then I'd fall asleep and wake up in the morning and I'd feel like shit. And I'd be like, all right, I gotta get going, gotta get to the gym, gotta get going this next day. And I'd feel really sad, but I never knew why I felt sad. Is that depression? No, I don't think that's depression. It's a feeling of sadness, and it could lead in depression, but it only leads in depression if I don't develop an understanding of myself. I don't develop and learn about myself. That's the thing, man. People are so similar. People are damn near cookie cutter. However, it sounds very redundant, or not redundant, but hypocritical, or just like what? But we're also so different. We are so subjective. We are so vastly different. We may all have the exact same roots. We may all have the exact same trunk even. But those branches, stems, and leaves, they go a million different ways. And it all depends on your nature, your personality, your nurture, a million different things that are going to, be in your way. And that's what I'm all about. I want to help you understand you by simply explaining how I think I have started to develop an understanding of myself. There is such a place for clinical and medical professionals, right? And that's what I do when it comes to nutrition. I'm trying to get to my master's degree within nutrition. I'm trying to really, be a very smart, educated person when it comes to nutrition. However, like I said, there is such a place for anecdotes and placebos and theories and conjecture. There really, really is, especially when it comes to something that we don't know much about yet. It's like I said, as much as we know about the mind, we don't know shit about the mind. And so until we're waiting for these guys to tell us the exact answer, they go, no, you guys thought XYZ in the past? No, this is what we learned is actually the reason that something's happened. Here, we can literally show you within the brain. Until neuroscientists and psychologists can literally tell us this is the answer, right? Until then, what are we gonna do? Just sit here and be sad, depressed, anxious until then? No, I ain't doing that. If you want to do that, good for you, man, but I take shit in my own hands. Going back to my buddy, I didn't even think about this before, but he told me yesterday, he's like, I think of you as an independent thinker. I'm like, I like that word. I like that word a lot. I've never been one to be like, yeah, tell me how I should think, or tell me how I should feel about that way. I was always one to scratch at the status quo. I was always one to hate authority. I mean, to a fault, and I say a lot of that was my ego, but I've never been one to just listen to authority and be like, okay, yeah, your way is the highway, or you're right on that. I've always had a question, and just for me, just tell me why, right? The old, ooh, damn boy, what pissed me off and what really broke relationships with me was when I just wanted to know why, and you'd say, because I said so. Teacher, coach, parent, whatever, that would get me livid. Just simply tell me why, man. I'm not just gonna trust you. I believe that we're all a bunch of morons on this, as Joe Rogan explains, on this flying spaceship through the vast, infinite space of the universe. It's just vast, infinite, forever, huge, and we're this little tiny ball, just a bunch of little monkeys who have developed a little bit of a smart brain, but are fucking morons. That's how I believe. I see myself as a moron. I don't believe. People debate on me on this, but at least what I had of an idea of an adult, I don't believe there's such thing as an adult. I do not believe in an adult. People go, oh, I don't believe in that. That's usually people talking about their parents, so they have such pride in their dad and mom. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is what I'm about, man. I don't believe there's an adult. Why? Because what I thought of as an adult was this person who had their shit together. This person who got up every morning, didn't complain, didn't say shit. Person who, and this is my fault for believing that this person could really exist. A person who doesn't have any problems. A person who doesn't have any pettiness or any, ego or selfishness or, X, Y, Z. Not a person exists. We all live within these personality deficiencies that we developed when we were younger, right? No matter how much somebody works, no matter how much somebody does X, Y, Z, they always have a vice because their mom didn't like them enough, or they had a nasty breakup in high school, or they never felt like they accomplished things. We all live in these little insecurities that we developed from the time we were younger. That's what absorbs our entire lives. We think we bond with people because of the things we like. No. I think we bond with people because of the tragedy we went through. And most people like to think they went through a lot more tragedy. And that's why you see friends developing these big groups of pity parties. That's all it fucking is now. That's all it seems it to be. It's just a bunch of groups getting together to be sorrow social support circles. Not something trying to help you. No, not sitting there like, hey, my parents get divorced, or I became a caretaker for my grandma, or 2020 is overwhelming me by this or that. No, they want to claim like, oh my god. Dude, I had so much work to do, man. I got a test and my boyfriend broke up with me. And my car. Oh my god, I just can't do it all. Shut the fuck up. Oh my god. Literally, the reason I'm going off on that is because I had 2 communication classes, and they were going to be really good classes. One on healthcare context and one on listening. And all it turned to, every Zoom session every Wednesday, was a social bitch circle. I sat there and didn't say one word the entire semester. We would just go round and round and round. You could talk about yourself when it was your turn to talk, and it would just be people bitching on that. If you have I'm sorry, I just don't think that's real problems. So sorry, I'm not your best friend. I don't want to deal with those problems. If you have 4 papers and you have to work 30 hours, I don't give a shit. Take it off the internet and don't be doing it over the camera. You have a mom, dad, or best friend to complain about those reasons. I just don't think you should come on to the internet and take up 25 people in your class time, even though the teacher created this social circle. Oh, I can't believe she did this. I'm so glad I'm done with her. God, seriously, everybody has problems. Your reality exists here. That's why I don't care. This is going to sound messed up, but for me, I am the one person who does feel bad for a lot of billionaires and millionaires, people who are rich, right? Justin Bieber, as he posts his Lonely song, right? Some people are like, I don't feel bad for him. Who cares? Who cares if he was lonely? And look at what he's got. I'm like, dude, your reality exists here in your brain. It does not matter if you are in the, Sahara Desert or, are you in the hills of California living in a billionaire mansion? Yes, physiologically, Yeah, you guys are vastly different. This guy's got, the Beverly Hills guy's got food, water, shelter, and the Sahara Desert, third world country, probably not, right? However, in your mind, that's where our problems exist. Your anxieties are not outside. They're not external. It's all internal. So for me, I'm like, yo, bro, I feel bad for them, man, because that can be even worse, right? There's a certain amount of money. It's the law of diminishing returns. There's a certain amount of money that, once you hit that level, boom, you're good. You got all your physiological needs covered. After that level, let's just, throw an arbitrary number out there. Let's just throw six figures, $100,000. But after that $100,000 level, each jump really isn't that much because you already got your basic needs covered, well covered. What do you need more money for? At that point, the more and more and more and more and more money you make, the more and more and more problems are going to come. More money, more problems, as they say, right? But literally, the more and more people are going to want to attack you, the more and more people are going to like you just for your money, the more and more people are going to come after you asking for your money, the more and more people that are going to want to see your downfall. So, me, as the empathetic person I am, a sympathetic person, dude, I feel bad for him. When his song Lonely is Justin Bieber's song Lonely, I thought it was really good, and I felt horrible for him, He just was a young kid who got famous at a young age, He's never had to struggle physiologically, right? He's always had the basic food, water, shelter. However, psychologically, to me, that's the deeper warfare. David Goggins would say that, right? It's not the physiological warfare of life. It's the psychological warfare of life. So to me, who's ever messed up more psychologically than physiologically, that's the person that, at least mental health-wise, bro. Ooh. And like I said, your existence is mental. It works within the brain. So to me, someone who has a bad brain, I feel more pity for and sorrow for than someone who has a bad home, who has a bad physical home. Because, there's amazing people out there, man. I watched, I think it was called Happy on Netflix. It was a documentary about happiness. And, bro, they showed some people in Sweden, these tiny little homes. They showed some people in tents and huts out in India and XYZ. And some of these people were way happier than even I've been in my life. And I'm like, what? I'm like, this guy's sleeping next to his goat. This guy's sleeping next to his goat in his hut, and this motherfucker's waking up and it's like, yeah, another day, another dollar, baby. I'm like, God darn it, man, it's perspective. Our reality exists. Prisoners of war. You ever heard of that? Prisoners of war. I can't remember. I've never read the book, but that's the old psychological concept, the prisoners of war. I think that one was talking specifically about, I can't remember, but I know one specifically about this guy in the concentration camps, and he was a Jew, right? And he was such a happy Jew. He said, here I am. I'm here. I'm locked up in a concentration camp. What the fuck? I obviously don't want to be here, but he's like, I'm here. I'm going to have to be here. The physical warfare is here. I'm going to at least win the psychological warfare. And he was such a happy camper. He was such an optimistic guy that Jews. He was a Jew. He even was inspiring Nazi guards. Like, to me, I think, Nazi people, didn't they fucking hate the shit out of the Jews? And he inspired many Nazi Jews to be like, dang, oh my, it doesn't matter what we throw at this guy. It doesn't matter what we throw at this guy. He is going to literally it ain't going to break him. It is not going to break him. That is so amazing to me. And to me, that shows that the real tragedies in life, the real misery, the depression, the anxiety, the problems, they exist here. They exist here. I remember when I first started my podcast, right, Happy Campers, the reason I really started is because senior year, depressed, shitty, senior year of high school, depressed, shitty, feel like I didn't have a lot of friends. I thought I was going to get rid of all those problems by going to San Diego. I thought, this is great. It's going to be a new change. It's going to be a new start. It's going to be a new life for Marsh, a new beginning. I can be whoever I want to be. However, the reason I started my podcast was the next year, right? Freshman year was at San Diego State, exact same year as senior year. Different location, different friends, same outcome. Why? Not because I was 2,300 miles away. It doesn't matter where you physically are. The mind went with me. I was the exact same person with the exact same unintelligence, stupidity, coping mechanisms, ego, XYZ. I was still the same person psychologically. I didn't change psychologically. It doesn't matter where your physical location is. I remember a buddy the other day, ran into him, I haven't seen him in a while. We were both out working. He's like, hey man, yeah. We were just talking for 30 minutes, and we were just talking for 30 minutes. We haven't seen each other in months. He goes, hey man, are you ever interested in like moving down like Florida or Arizona or Texas or anything like that? I'm like, motherfucker, we haven't seen each other in months, and now we're just talking for 3 minutes. You're trying to drag my ass down to the South? What are you looking for, bud? I know he's not doing well. I know he's missing his XYZ. I know he's feeling, you know, ... I'm not going to get into it. And I'm like, dude, you're just looking for something to reach. Famous line my mother always said to me was, you know, going back to the moving thing, and I ran back from California too because I thought the same problem would happen again. And guess what happened even the third time, my sophomore year of college? Same thing. Whole different location, back home, you know, but even different from where I lived at home, so even, you know, whatever. Whole different location again. Same psychological behavior abilities. Same stuff. Same personality, same traits, same coping mechanisms, same XYZ. Nothing changed. And then I'm like, looking at his friend, I'm like, so you're just longing for something. You're in, like my mother says, I think that's what I was trying to get at, was don't run from something. Run to something, right? You cannot run from something, run to something. I'm like, buddy, you're running from something. You can have the exact same, and that's just a perspective switch. Running to something and running from something is just a perspective switch. Let's use a person who's getting beat at home, right? Let's use a person who's getting beat at home. They're leaving. For a good reason. They're leaving. However, there's two ways you can look at it. You live in Minnesota and you're heading out to Florida, right? To get away from home, a bad home. You can either be running from your home, running from your victimhood, running from your father beating you, running from all this tragedy, XYZ, oh my God, pity me, pity me. You can run from that and go to Florida, or you can run to Florida. You can run to a new opportunity. You can run to a new life. You can run to a new beginning. It's an easy perspective switch. Going back, I think I talked about the locus of control. Where do you feel control in life, internally or externally? You know, do you feel like you can control your destiny, or do you feel like external factors do? I believe the ones who have that internal factor, right, who look at themselves not as victims, but as the controller of their destiny. They go, all right, this guy's beating the shit out of me. Fuck this guy. This shit sucks. I'm out. I'm not running from you, dude. I'm over you. I'm done with you. Just like the old Drake and Josh episode, right? Josh wasn't saying, I'm so mad at you. I'm so mad at you. He looks at Drake. He goes, I'm not mad at you, Drake. I'm done with you. I'm not mad at you. I'm done with you. That's running to something. If you're mad at somebody, I'm mad at you. You're running away from them. Get away from me. Get away from me. Get away from me. You make me so mad. Oh, you make me so mad. But running to something like, I'm done with you, man. You hurt me. I understand how you hurt me, and I'm done with you. I need a new beginning. I'm running to a better life. Simple mindset shift, simple perspective shift. And yeah, I was like sitting there, and I didn't explain that to him that day because, as I said, we didn't talk to each other for 3 months, and we just ran into each other. This guy's trying to drag me to the South. I'm like, brother, been there, man. Don't be running to something, man. You know, don't be running from something. Run to something. Don't be running from tragedy. Run to an opportunity. So, yeah, I don't know where I was getting on all of this, but, you know, we kept our conversation going. I'm talking to him about all of this. I'm talking to him about how, and I remember telling him too, because he starts by saying, right, he can't be alone. He can't just listen to himself. And I go, you ever heard of your conscience, right? You ever heard of your conscience? And we talk about how it's the thing that probably pushes you in the right direction. That's why we probably, you know, evolutionary psychologists and biologists would argue that we develop anxiety to push us in the right direction. So I go, where do you feel the quietest? Where do you feel like your mind's the quietest? Where do you feel like the anxiety turns off? He's like, dude, that's what I'm saying. That's why I like these two things. I love the gym and I love playing baseball. When I do those things, I'm really quiet. And I just sit there, I go, like, duh? Like, and he goes, because that's what I want to be doing, right? I'm like, yeah, that's what I would believe. Again, we don't know. I'm not gonna tell you I know. This is just conjecture. That's what I think. It worked for me. If the debate is that the anxiety has evolved in our bodies to push us in the right direction, then when the anxiety is its quietest, wouldn't you feel then you're in your right direction? And that's how I really think life is that simple, but no one's taught that shit. I literally thought just like he thought for years, but nobody taught me that. Nobody said, hey man, why don't you listen to that little head in your brain? Why don't you listen to that little head in your brain, goddammit? Why don't you listen to that little voice in your head? I remember one of my best friends telling me a few years ago, and now he smokes a lot. He was like, yeah man, I don't want to smoke weed anymore, man. I don't really want to smoke weed anymore. And I go, why man? What's going on with the weed? You know, I know you and I like to, you know, kick up a joint and kick back, man. What the fuck? What's going on? And he's like, I don't know, man. I just think it kind of makes me just think too much, and then I just kind of get into like sad boy and XYZ. I'm like, bro, I explained the whole thing too, man. I'm like, I would argue against that, man. That's why I like weed, because weed makes me humble, right? I like feeling paranoid, because that paranoia to me is anxiety. It's telling me, hey, Marsh, you did the wrong thing. You were inauthentic on your video. You were mean to your mom or grandma. You were mean to XYZ. You didn't need to cut that person off. You didn't need to give them the finger. You didn't need to get mad at somebody for being mad at you. Whatever these little stupid things, the things that I don't like to do, but then when I get in the heat of the moment, I do it. That's what I have anxiety at the end of the day about. That's when my conscience really speaks to me, is at the end of the day saying, why did you do this? You know you preach being authentic, and here you are being the most inauthentic piece of shit you could possibly be. That's when my anxiety sits. So you think I have a disorder? No, I don't have a disorder. I'm not listening to my conscience. I'm not listening to my higher being within myself, right? I'm not listening to my reward system pushing me on the right path. I'm doing the things that I don't want to be doing. And then somebody telling me at the end of the day saying, hey, yeah, I know you think you had a good day, but you didn't. And here's A, B, and C why you didn't. A, B, and C are things you don't like to do. And just so you know, you did them. Yeah, boy, you did them. So let's hope we back up tomorrow and make sure we don't do them. It humbles the shit out of me. I remember explaining, like I said, he smokes a lot now because we talked about this many times, and I talked to him about just sitting quietly and like, you know, trying to like listen to your head. I'm like, your head is like, everybody thinks, I even talked before on how this head gets really negative on you and it starts picking at yourself. And I think that is when you allow other voices to come, right? That negative talk comes when you're watching, you know, Instagram videos and TikTok videos. You start comparing yourself to others. However, I don't feel personally, when you have no external sources coming in, no TV, no podcast, no music, whatever, that voice, that soul voice is you talking, saying, hey man, here's where we are failing in our department. We live for ourselves. It's your fucking life. It's your life. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. So for me, you know, turn off those stupid Instagram, turn off those TikToks. That's their life. That's what they want to do. Is that what you want to do? If it is, cool. But I don't think you're going to know that until you really sit with yourself and get to know that. Internalized people who internalize things. Continue with the story with him. I was telling him about that. I believe the internalized people, we have a whole episode on self-reflection and, you know, looking back at yourself. The internalized people, in my opinion, are the ones who have a better understanding of themselves, and people who have a better understanding of themselves are the ones who tend to be happier, or at least their ups and downs are just less of a trough, right? It's more of a smooth up and down than these big waves, because they have a better understanding of themselves. They develop more emotional intelligence. They understand, okay, I'm feeling this way, this is probably why, right? That's why my journal. That's why I started my journal this year. I think my journal really helped me on that. It can really help me understand my feelings. Oh, yeah, this is why we feel that way in the morning, right, Marsh? We feel that way in the morning because we did something last night that you actually don't like to do, but you didn't even notice that you did it because you were just so fixated on the moment. And now you're looking back in hindsight, you're like, shit, I regret doing that. I shouldn't have done that. And I start to develop anxiety. And I remember, and this is why I continue with that internalized thing. I remember telling him, I go, do you remember that? And I think it was on this podcast that I told him that. I told him, hey man, I think if you just sit down and you sit with things, you will really become he has a grasp and a concept on any psychological or philosophical concept or topic that I talk about. However, he doesn't really like feel them. And I'm like, hey man, if you ever just sat alone and like intentionally listen to yourself, meditated, right? I think you'll learn a lot. I can't tell you what you're going to learn. And he's like, you tried to ask me that. He's like, what do you think I'll learn? What do you think I'll hear? I'm like, I ain't got no clue. And if anybody tries to tell you they do, they're liars. They're full of themselves. They think they know what they're talking about, but they don't. Life is so subjective, especially the mind. I have no idea what him sitting down is going to, what is he going to hear? What is his brain to tell him? I have no idea. However, I strongly believe it will be telling him things to push him in the right direction, whatever that is subjectively to him. I was talking to him about my mom and another friend of mine and myself who do this thing specifically that really helps with that is sometimes, a lot of times, when we have a long drive, we'll turn everything off. Yep. He works down and he takes an hour commute every day. And he says on his way home, no matter what, no music. Every day, no music. He will just sit there and whatever. And he is, not the brightest guy I've ever met, but he is a really internalized folk. He knows himself. He knows what agitates him. He knows his anxieties. He knows what makes him feel sad. He knows how to fix himself. He knows when, oh, I need some social fixing today. He's like, I can tell I haven't been around my friends a little bit. Or, oh, I need to work out. I can tell that my body's getting anxious because I have too much energy. He's a really internalized person, and so is my mom. And, I think just sitting intentionally, and I told him that. There are people, going back to internalized folk, they're the best. They're the ones, in my opinion, who have the best self-monitoring, the best emotional intelligence, and that can help you, right? Becoming your own expert, your own coach, your own counselor. I'm like, the ones who intentionally take time out of their day to sit with their thoughts. Meditators. For me, I try and, when I do my cardio, I try and do no music. And that's my time. Or otherwise, I'll drive too. But really, when I'm walking, so my cardio, when I'm doing my walking or whatever, my brain's already just like moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'm already having these great thoughts. And now I can turn the music off too. And I can just really listen to myself. I think that's really what this whole episode was about. Like I said, I don't even know what these episodes are going to be about no more. There's no preparation. I'm not doing that shit. If you want my preparation videos, the YouTube, shit ton of preparation, crap ton of editing, YouTube's for skits, and the health and wellness and stuff, always going to be having that. The podcast, not going to happen no more. I just don't fuck with it. Too much work to do all that and then sit here for, 45 minutes and and then try and factor that all in. And that's where I get into like this unauthentic stuff. So that's not going to happen. But listening to that voice, the conscience. You know that. You've heard the conscience since you were a little kid. That is the voice that develops anxiety, in my opinion. Right? It's that. That's the voice that also, when you take in external opinions, aka through Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, XYZ, when you factor in the external opinions, what everyone else is doing outside of you, then your voice starts to get into these really negative things like, oh, you're not as good as them, or you don't have as much as them, you don't do that, XYZ. But I believe you get away from those things. You shut them off. You put them away. You don't have any external factors coming in, external forces coming in. You're just sitting with yourself internally. Then your brain is just thinking about you. Hey, man, how are we doing today? What do we want? It's not that easy. It's not that easy. It's not that simple, right? As people would say, I'm not a religious guy, but people say, well, yeah, I talk to God. It's like, and then other people are like, oh, you can't talk to God. Yeah, oh, really? You talk to God? They go, it's not as simple as that. I don't just sit there and go, hey, God, how are you doing today? And he goes, well, I'm doing good. They say, he talks to me in these different ways. That's what I believe about the anxiety. It's going to talk to you in different ways. You got to sit there and think. You can't just ask it, what should I do? You have to sit there and think about what you want, and then you go out and perform trial and error. And if you perform trial and it feels good, awesome. Keep that going. Keep performing trials within that route. Keep trying to feel what makes you feel the best. Or you perform trial and there's an error, then we go, all right, new trial, new route. That's not the way it's going to work for me. Okay, that I'm still not being as authentic as I want to be. A little bit more authentic. I feel better than I did the other days. I'm getting more and more authentic, but I wasn't as authentic as I could be. I don't think your brain's going to simply tell you that. I think you have to perform trial and error and then listen to your body, listen to your chemicals, listen to your nightly thoughts, your conscience, and see what it's telling you then. Your brain. I remember a buddy told me too, a few years ago, he told me, he's come to my house, he's like, bro, and it was back to marijuana. He's like, dude, I stopped smoking marijuana. He's like, dude, it gives me these extreme anxiety attacks. Or, he's like, it's the marijuana. And this guy smoked for years. And I'm like, okay. And I smoke marijuana, and I'm not a promoter. I'm not be like, yeah, everybody, go do it. But for me, I really, especially to most people, it really doesn't have that much negative effects to the most people. However, do your own thing. Everybody's different. Blah. XYZ. However, I knew when he said this to me, he was having anxiety attacks from marijuana. I was like, bullshit. This does not come from marijuana. And I felt personally attacked because at this time, I love marijuana. I'm like, don't you dare talk about me like that. Don't you dare. And I was like, nah, it is not marijuana. Months go by, weeks go by, whatever. He comes back. Didn't smoke for months. He comes back to my house. He said, Marsh, on the bridge there, which is like a mile away from my house, I had a huge anxiety attack. A huge this or that. And I'm like, haven't smoked weed in a few months. Okay. I go, well, how much of your anxiety attacks happen? He's like, dude, they've been happening so often. I've been having them so much. would get into talking all night and this and that. Dude, what it came down to was he was living a shitty life. He felt, not blaming it to him, he was telling me, Marshall, I'm living a shitty life. You know what I like? You know where I want to be? I want to achieve XYZ, but dude, I'm not even at A, B, and C. I haven't even taken the first step in towards getting to my ultimate goal. And then, of course, you would be naive to think that then, by doing such, not even taking the first initial steps to get you to your end goal, you would be extremely naive to think that your body would not give you anxiety for that. Your body wants the best for you. I'm sorry, folks, but your body does not want you to eat burgers. Yes, it makes you happy, and you can trick them because, man, it's amazing how that, we'll maybe have other episodes about it, but it's amazing how that dopamine system, that Mother Nature's, innate animal reward system can be tricked. Whoo, can it be tricked? However, your body wants the best for you. Your body wants you to achieve your physiological, your safety, your love, your esteem needs. It wants you to have everything that you want. Your body wants you to achieve self-actualization. Your body wants you to achieve your full potential. You do. That's where that ego comes from. It wants you to do the best. I think simply enough, when you're not achieving the best, when you're not doing, and remember, your best, my best, Johnny's best, they're all different. It's subjective to you. But wherever your goals are, I think when you're not stepping towards those goals, you're not working towards those goals. And the goal may be being nicer to people. And if you're not being nicer to people, you're not stopping, opening the door for people, you're not saying hi, you're not smiling, waving, then at night, I believe, that's where the anxiety comes, saying, come on, man. Why are you not doing what you want to do? And like I said, it's not going to be that simple. It's not going to simply say that. It's just going to be this chemical feeling of, I feel shitty. Because remember, anxiety is a chemical equation. Increase in cortisol, increase in adrenaline, drop in serotonin, drop in dopamine. Really just that. So you sit there and you're like, God, I feel shitty. Why do I feel so shitty? I feel like I have so much anxiety. And I think it's, hey man, you don't know how to decode what your brain's trying to tell you. You don't have the language. You don't have the tools and the understanding to do that too. And trust me, I was there for many years, and there's still a lot of things that I don't have the knowledge to decode and decrypt. The encryption. What's it called? The encryption? I don't even know. I know it's decode, but yeah. But I can't read it. I can't understand what it's trying to tell me because I'm not that smart yet. And that's really what it is, man. I just truly believe. I think if you guys are like OG, and y'all remember the Voice of the Youth, something I tried to start with my buddy about a year and a half ago. That was probably the worst thing I've ever done because that was the most inauthentic I've ever been in myself, and different things factored into that. I was lost and I was trying to find a place, but really what the whole main mission about that was just trying to empower and encourage other people to take your life into your own hands. I've never been one to just, like I said, I've never been one to believe what everybody tells me. I just want to see for myself. I want to try it out for myself because I truly believe we're all trying to make sense of this thing. Every adult, the person who's 85 years old, the person who's 35 years old, we're both morons. We're both trying to figure out, how does this life work? How can I not feel so shitty? How can I be happy? How can I feel accomplished? How can I XYZ? That's what I feel it is. I feel it's that simple. So anxiety. It's the conscience in your head trying to put you in the right direction, to my belief. That's what it's done for me. And I feel that when I feel bad and I counteract it the next morning in the right direction, right, making those steps towards my next goal, I feel like I have a much better day. And like I said, that's my thing, right? I like to say that. Like I said, once again, that's my thing, huh? As he felt better. I can tell after our conversation last night, he felt better. He's like, oh my God. He's like, I think there's a lot of merit to that. Not that I'm a guru, not that I understand everything, like I said. God damn it. Like I said. If that's what I want out of this, is to build a community of people empowering themselves to become their own health experts, mental health expert, nutrition expert, with just, minimal understandings of life through performing trial and error, right? The mental health thing that I was talking about earlier, trial and error. Let's just make it super easy with analogy to nutrition. Bro, I have never had a nutrition coach in my life. And right now, it's been 8 years trying different diets and whatever, but right now, my diet is so good. I love it. I wake up feeling energized, juiced. I don't have bogginess. I don't have fogginess in the midday. Dude, I feel really, really good. 8 years of trial and error, listening to experts, listening to medical professionals and biologists who know what food is and nutrition is on a chemical level. Yes, factoring all of that, you'd be very ignorant to not factor in those things. However, they don't know where I come from, right? They don't know my evolution. They don't know where my ancestors are, right? Everybody develops a different way, different foods that your ancestors ate. They don't know what I do on a daily basis. They don't know how I think on a daily basis, X, Y, Z. So why? It would take a lot of money. That's all it is. It would take a lot of money to get somebody else to know you as well as you can know yourself. You live with yourself for 24 hours. I believe you are the one who's going to know yourself the best. That's why I always say, listen to other people. Thank you for coming and listening to my anecdotes and my conjecture and my theory. From here, take something from my conjecture, take something from my anecdotes, take something from my theory and apply it to yourself, and then spread the knowledge to somebody else. Continue this, because we can't just sit around and wait for everybody else to help us. Going back to the internal thing. Everything's got to be internal, in my opinion. Your happiness, your health, your success, your fulfillment, your love, it's got to be internal. I am done. 2020 taught me I'm not sitting around waiting for a freaking vaccine. I'm going to better the shit on my immune system. That's what if it gets me, it gets me. I'm going to eat right, train right, sleep right, so my immune system will be the best it can possibly be, because I'm not sitting around waiting for everyone else to help me. No one's going to give you a handout. No one is going to help you up. No one gives two flying shits. They just want their money, do their own thing. You have to help yourself, and that's what I want you to do. I hope you can literally feel this within me, man. I want you to feel empowered. That's just a cliche word, but I want to encourage you and educate you, help you, because I feel so good. I don't have to worry about, I feel so lost, or I feel this or that, what should I do, what should I do? No, Marsh, shut up, sit down, listen to yourself. You have your answers. You just don't know how to decode them yet. That's what I truly believe. You have all the answers of your nutrition, you have all the answers of how you want to sleep, you have all the answers of how your mental health works. However, currently, we don't have the understanding and the knowledge to decrypt the code of what our brain's trying to tell us, what our conscience is trying to tell us. And we will in the future. It's not a coincidence that adults seem to have their head better, right? Going back to the word of adults. I don't really believe in adults. However, older folks, right? It's not a coincidence that older folks, the older someone gets, the more they seem to have this shit together. I think it's because the older you get, the more knowledge you get of yourself, the more wisdom you develop yourself, and the easier it becomes to decode those encryptions of what your brain is trying to tell you, your conscience is trying to tell you, to push you in the right direction. Marshall's trying to be authentic and be a good person. When Marshall's not authentic and a good person, which he easily can do, because I get so, fixated on the present moment, you forget things. I'm focused on this next moment. Then at night, when it's time to be alone and be internal, my body is going, hey man, not good. You weren't doing good shit. So, if you have anything else, Marshal Kramer on IG, AudioSmilez on IG, please, seriously, ever since I started counseling and started talking to my mom and shit, dude, other people can help you. You can help me. There are things that I'm struggling with right now that I'll probably talk about in the future that you can help me with. Help me with that. I'm not sitting here bitching to you about, X, Y, Z, these are the things, right? If you're going to come on the internet and you are going to complain about something, bring an anecdote. Bring a theory or concept on how you push through it. Do not just sit there and be like, I'm still sad. I don't know what to do. Get out of here. You have friends for that. Don't waste anybody else's time. I don't know how you think you have such a big ego. You can put that shit on the internet and just complain. And the thing I used to hate the most was those, I don't even do Snapchat anymore, was the Snapchat stories when it'd be a black screen. And it'd be like, it's so sad. Feeling down. Down the dumps today. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck, Richard. Nobody cares. Nobody gives two shits. Or I'm deleting all my contacts, or deleting everything. The real ones will know. The real ones will know how to reach me. I'm sorry, man, if this is pessimistic to you, but nobody cares. And then the reason I tell you that is because stop wasting your time thinking other people are going to care and save you. You have to save yourself. I truly believe that. your love, your esteem, your fulfillment, your happiness, your anxiety, everything. I believe it's all internal. You have to fix it internal. It's you, man. You got to be your own expert. What's going to make you happy? I don't think anybody's going to know that but you. Because it's up to you to decide, up to you to create, and up to you to find out. Develop the understanding, decoding what your brain and conscience is trying to tell you through learning more about yourself. Learning more about psychology and neurology, and then factor it into your own self. Okay, well, how can I learn that? I learned that fact. How can that fact come into my life and help me, do better with it? Because again, I think your existence is here, right? We use these physical bodies to get what our existence needs. We use food to do work. We use our hands to do work, to make food, whatever, so we can continue our existence up here in our brains. I think that's where your anxiety exists. That's where your depression exists. That's where your sadness exists. That's where your happiness and fulfillment also exist. And I believe, very cliche, that's where the answers exist. Really that simple. I think that's all anxiety is. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for coming back to this podcast, the Marshal Kramer Show, and talking about that little voice in your head, that conscience, that anxiety, what I personally think it is, talking about anecdotes, conjecture, and theory, and talking about how you can apply your anecdotes, conjecture, and theory, and helping other people out too. I hope that's what I did for you today. I hope I helped somebody else out, because I love when people help me out, man. I love when people make me feel better. I love when people went through things that I'm going through, and they have a really good way of going about it, and I'm like, that is it. You are farther than me on that journey. Going back to that guy, last thing I'm going to say, going back to that guy, we were talking about loneliness. He handles loneliness way better than I did. And then after I was talking about anxiety, he talked to me about loneliness. I'm like, you're right. Okay, you're right. Nobody's better than you. No, just as you know more on one side, as much as I know in one subject, I don't know a shit ton on another subject, so please teach me. I want to know everything. I want to know, right? Help me. No one's better than you. No one knows more than you with quotes, but they may know something different, and so do you. Share that. Better community, This time to show us anything, man. We need to come together. Answers are in your head. Anxiety. I don't know. Maybe anxiety does exist. Maybe it doesn't. I don't think it does. I think it's you. You have to decode. You have to learn, develop the understanding, develop the knowledge. And you can decode what your brain is trying to tell you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Until next time, man, take care. Listen to that voice in your head. And I'll see you guys next time.